Hey, we are live.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Very, very well. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I miss you already.
Ach, I know. What's it like? This long distance relationship, man. It's killing me.
Yeah, it's true.
So welcome to everybody watching. So great to see so many people tuning into the live stream, and we've got a very interesting episode today where we will just bare all and tell you everything about the very intensive week that we had, rehearsing, doing our first concerts, doing a little bit of recording, all sorts of stuff that happened in that sort of, what was it, a couple of weeks ago now?
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago, although it felt like a really long time while we were doing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were using every possible second that we had,
Yeah.
to sort of get as much out of this period of time, because it's so challenging having just a week to get so much right and ready for concerts and everything like that, and not be able to just rehearse every week, or something like that. So,
right.
I felt like we didn't have any downtime.
No, not at all. Although it felt, it's funny. It felt like it happened really quickly, but it also like, we were just using every second that we could. If we had an extra second, it was rehearsals. If we, and then there were plenty of things that were scheduled as well. So
yeah. So just to put everybody in the picture, we've got lots of little clips from the concerts to share. So stuff that, there are a few things have come out since the week of rehearsals and concerts. We've shared some Pat Metheny, and we've shared a little bit of Bach, but we've got some Peter Maxwell Davies, and we've got some Philip Glass and some other things, that live footage from some of the concerts to share, so people can see some of the beautiful venues we were in, and also some of the lovely acoustics that we had to enjoy. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process of working together and what we did, and sort of sharing these things for other musicians and people interested in music to sort of know what goes on behind the scenes. I said we had a bit of downtime, but I guess I wasn't being completely honest there, because I was having a look there, and I was trying to find some pictures from our escapades. And actually, here, I think a few have just gone up on the screen. We did have a little bit of downtime.
Yeah, it looks like we had demonstratively quite a bit of downtime by these pictures.
Oh yeah, there's one in the centre where I'm sort of remembering that was the night before the concert, and I don't think we gave ourselves the ample preparation of sleep that we maybe should have.
Note yourself, particularly before the first ever concert. Yes.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It was pretty fun.
But this in this top picture here, so people are looking at this collage of images. In the top picture, this is this beautiful little village on the east coast of Scotland called Crail, and it was your first time ever there, right?
Yeah. We kept on, like I had like my phone with me, and we kind of we left the bus stop, and we'd be walking about 100 meters or 200 meters, and I take a picture, and you're like, oh, we're not at the good stuff yet. So we'd go a little farther and take a picture, and you'd be like, no, we're not there yet. And I was wondering if we were ever gonna actually arrive to the good stuff. And this photo that you have up here is well, that's an example.
Yeah, no, it's stunning. It's such a beautiful place. And to put people in the picture, this is the location where we did our first ever concert. So it's the area of Scotland where I'm actually from. I was brought up very close to this little village, and it's in this tiny area called the East Neuk of Fife. So Fife's a region, and this is right at the very end of it, and it's full of these really idyllic, beautiful old fishing villages and things like that. And they have a lot of arts festivals and stuff that they run during the summer, and they have a really strong cultural kind of community spirit. There's so many interesting things going on in these little places. So I think I got the feeling you were a bit surprised by the fact there was a full hall of people there to listen to classical guitar music.
I absolutely was, yeah, because when we were coming in, first of all, it's the weekend, and it's a pretty sleepy area, right?
Yeah.
So we came in. I think it was a Friday, and it's just very quiet and just idyllic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was asking, we did sell tickets for this, right? You know?
Yeah. And then, I mean, you can see, I think in the bottom right, you can see the place was like, was packed with people who just, you know, they come out to see the opera orchestra and the sort of opera, the Scottish opera. They do pop-up concerts there. They've just had a concert last weekend of a beautiful harp, sort of Scottish classic traditional music concert there. And they have like folk music and all sorts of stuff. So it's just like, there's actually a huge amount of cultural life going on in these places. But it was quite special as well for me, because it's a place where, you know, I've been associated with growing up and playing at their local sort of stuff. So it was great to bring you out and just sort of present a new format, a new duo, a new classical music sort of thing for this audience, because they were really interested in like how we'd got together, and like, you know, also how the music was going to sound on two guitars. So there was a lot of questions afterwards.
Yeah, there were, and it was really fun to run into like, oh, well, I knew Matthew when he was, you know, 10 years old, and we had just a number of like old friends showing up to this, to our first concert, which just felt so warm and welcoming, and you know, it was just the perfect way to kick things off.
Oh, good. I'm glad, because it was really a really special moment, actually. So listen, we've got a clip of some Bach from that concert, because we opened that first concert with the Bach concerto that we've sort of just started to put into our repertoire, and we're probably going to do a nice recording of that in Michigan in June when I'm over in the US. But we've got a lovely clip of some of the second movement in this beautiful hall in Crail, which has a really, really lovely acoustic. So we're just going to have a little listen to some Bach, just so people that weren't at the concert can have a little taste of what it was like to be playing out in that sleepy but not so sleepy part of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous stuff.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful acoustic, right?
Yeah. How did that feel for you? Because I mean, you know, these I mean, hometown gigs, or nearly hometown gigs, can be well, there can be a lot of emotions associated there, you know.
Yeah, there can be a lot of pressure actually in these sort of like hometown gigs, because you're sort of you, like you say, people have been invested all the way through.
Yeah.
Your sort of beginnings of your career and stuff like that. So it was really nice. And pressure, but also support. Like, you know, also just like, you know, we've got this idea together. We've just got it off the ground, and it's like, if you're road testing it with people that know what you can do artistically and know what you're about, they also are quite direct. Like, they're quite honest, because they're invested. So they're like, or I do like it, you know. We'll just tell you the truth. So like, I mean, it was great that it was positive feedback, but also it was just like, it was a supportive environment. So it didn't have any it was the right type of pressure. Does that make sense? Not the wrong.
Oh, totally. Yeah. We didn't have anybody sort of sitting like this, and you know what I mean? Now did you, because you were playing for people that you've known in some cases all your life, I mean, did you get any suggestions or advice that was surprising? Like, oh, you guys shouldn't play Bach, you know that?
No. That people like the Bach. The incredible reaction to the glass, you know, incredible. To this Philip Glass, and I think because it's an unusual arrangement of it on two guitars, and we did that odd thing of ending the concerts. You know, usually when you go to a concert, you end a concert on a big boom, kind of high. And we ended the concert with the glass, sort of away to nothing almost. And I think that actually really made it a different experience at the end of a concert for people. It was maybe more meditative or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people,
Well,
do you feel that?
we talked about that a lot too, like, because I mean, when you first pitched the idea, we, our second, our second concert was two halves. And so the first half ended on a slow meditative piece, and the second
Mhm.
half ended on a slow meditative piece. And that was your idea. And I had trouble picturing it in my head. You know what I mean? I wanted barn burner,
Yeah, exactly.
but it just, I'm completely convinced now.
Yeah, good.
That
I'm like, yes. Also, sorry, this is a time zone thing as well, where I'm having a glass of wine, and I think it's like, is that an inappropriate time for you to be having a drink of such sort? Because it's like 9:30 here or something.
we could call this water if you want.
Okay, fine, fair enough. That's okay. That's good. I'm glad. That's impressed. There's a lovely comment coming in here from Cynthia, or not comment, but question about how did the two of you meet? And I can let you answer that one, I think, Matthew.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, Mom. We we met at a guitar festival in Germany, and Matthew was playing in a duo with flutist at the time, and I was playing with a quartet at the time, and we stayed in touch. Matthew's the first person to ever, besides me, to ever play one of my pieces. And I think it was maybe a couple of years later, you ended up booking a tour in the States. And by that time, I was at Interlaken, where I am now. And you came for a couple of days, we hit it off, we had a ball. And from that point on, we've been talking about forming a duo, but I think that we've definitely past the talking stages, I think, by this point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, like, just not only was it meeting professionally in different sort of circles where you're listening to other musicians play and you're part of different ensembles, we were always talking about music, and sort of I was kind of going, I think this is a person who shares a similar approach to me in terms of, like, not many boundaries with music, and so much as, like, the categories of stuff are not so important, and which is why I think the diversity of the repertoire that we're already looking at has been obvious to people. It's like, somebody said, I think it was at the Dunblane gig, they were like, well, this could have worked in anywhere. Like, one of the audience members came up at the end and said, this doesn't just have to be in a classical music concert series, or in we were in a beautiful cathedral in Dunblane, which, if people were paying attention to that collage picture at the beginning, they'd have seen a huge big cathedral behind us. We were standing outside just at sunset, just with this huge cathedral behind us, and it's a cavernous acoustic. But, the audience member was coming up sort of saying, this would have worked, in a theatre, it would have worked in a bar, it would have worked anywhere, so I like that. When we were sort of thinking about this and getting this together, I was thinking, we don't have to be so bound by the norms, without doing something.
For sure. And in fact, we're going to test that theory when you're here in June, because we'll play at a distillery, we'll play at a converted movie theater. We'll play in traditional concert halls. We'll have an outdoor venue, at least one, that I'm aware of. And so, we're gonna kick the tires on that concept, and we'll see where all of this fits. And I'm really excited to find out what it does sound like in a variety of different venues.
Tell me more about this distillery.
Details TBD.
Okay,
we've got dates, but we're not. I'm not quite ready to disclose.
Maybe don't tell me anything until after I've played.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's
I've played in one distillery before in Poland, and it was great fun. It was really good, and it had a really different atmosphere. We've got a distillery here, Drygate, and it hosts a lot of gigs at Celtic Connections, and it hosts a lot of different sort of musicians and stuff. And they've got big spaces, so they can put on different types of events. So interesting locations. But maybe we could we could share a little bit more music with the audience.
Share
a clip. Yeah. Now this clip hasn't been shown anywhere. So this is unless you were at the concert, you haven't heard this yet. And it's some of the Philip Glass from the concert in Dunblane Cathedral.
So we're in this awesome acoustic here.
Yeah. What did you think of that place? I mean, you were playing.
Oh my word! It was. I mean, first of all, the ceilings are so high.
Yeah.
You're just. I was wondering as we were walking in, because you know, like even the entrance is just like extremely grand old set of doors that I don't quite think I ever figured out how to operate, to be honest. So we walk into the space, and my first thought was like, this is so big. Is it going to swallow the initial attack? You know?
Yeah.
And in fact, it was, you know, it was kind of the opposite. I mean, the reverb was sort of, I mean, it was really nice. Very, it was very forgiving with the fast stuff, you know what I mean? But just exactly what we want with some of the slow pieces, like the Glass and a couple other pieces that we're going to be sharing today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think sometimes these acoustics are well. Let's play, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Just let people hear what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's so atmospheric.
It went on forever, you know. Yeah, that felt great. How does that feel? How does that piece feel for you to play it live? You know, because we'd recorded it.
Yeah.
But playing it live is a different thing. And Philip Glass is not an easy composer to.
There's nothing in terms of the notes, like they're just kind of like, I think they're just versions of the chord in arpeggio form. So they're just, you know, it's the same notes that you're playing, just a bit higher and maybe like one or two added. But like we're you know, I think you said it's in the introduction something like, you know, after about 4 minutes we get to the third chord or something like, you know, or something like that. It was like nothing harmonically really massive happens.
Yeah.
But it's putting people into this really particularly atmospheric and meditative state. So as a player, you can't fall into that trap.
Right.
Because if you do, it's like you miss something. Do you know what I mean? Because you're taken away by the whole sound and you're sort of off thinking about something else, and then you've just missed something, and it's too late to get back on the train.
Yeah.
You know, if that makes sense. It's like you have to be very present as you're sort of playing this stuff. And then there's a temptation, I think, to do live, to do more with the lines, with these arpeggios and stuff, to push them a bit more, to make them a little bit larger or something, and more expressive. So you have to sort of maybe resist that temptation a little bit and play down a little bit, because it's the notes are doing all the work for you. The composition is doing all the work. So you just you just present it. It's very different, like different to some of the other stuff we were playing, where we had to be very behind all the interpretive choices.
It's kind of the opposite of almost everything else, you know, that we were playing, which feels very it feels very like listen heavy and phrase heavy.
Yeah.
Whereas the glass is so delicate and so much of a like a single mood, I think, you know, that, and it's a single mood that lasts, you know, 8 or 9 minutes. So yeah, tricky.
The sustain was a thing that, you know, when we were practicing it here in this room behind me, and it's quite dry, you know, it's got a bit of a sound, but it's quite dry. And then it's, so you're sort of, everything's kind of very much under the microscope. And then you take it to an acoustic like that cathedral, and those low A's just kind of went out into the cathedral and just kind of kept on going and going and going, lasting forever. So you felt like you had a lot more time to play with, you know, which was really nice.
Yeah, and I felt that's a good point that you brought up, is that we were playing in 3 or 4 different acoustics, in some cases profoundly different acoustics, depending on where we were playing. Like the place that we were staying in Creole, you know, it was a beautiful home, and we played we were rehearsing in a room with carpet, and so there's no reverb whatsoever, right? And I think we found our tempi got a little bit like jumpy in those rehearsals. Whereas when we got out onto the stages, I loved how the space itself ends up being a little bit of a member of the ensemble, you know. And I think we make certain performative decisions based on the spaces that we're playing in.
I would agree. And I think what was quite refreshing to me was we were making those decisions. We maybe only had, like in Dunblane, I think we maybe only had 40 minutes to warm up, you know. And I should say we had the wonderful support of the world's greatest concert organizer, roadie, helper, best guy of all time, Roberto, who, you know, is kind of my right-hand man at the guitar retreat, and you'd met him before in the summer and stuff. And he was just helping out as he always does, and sort of made our life just even a lot easier when we got to that venue. And we're trying to figure out this acoustic and figure out this stuff. We were able to sort of just focus on all that kind of thing, because we were just like, okay, that's great, Roberto's helping us out and we can listen to that. But I like the way, because I didn't know how, you know, we'd rehearsed all this stuff, but I didn't know, are you going to do exactly what we've done in rehearsal when we play live together? Or am I going to go off piste, and are you going to go, oh, he's done this, I better, you know, try and do something else? Or am I going to be like, oh, you're doing this, I better follow you here? It's felt like we just kind of made those decisions as we went, and they seemed to just be part of the environment. I didn't ever think, oh no, we're hearing 2 entirely different things here and reacting differently. Right.
I mean, that's a possibility. That's always a possibility, and I think there's a measure of trust that's always going to be necessary there. But no, I agree. I didn't feel that way at all. I think I will say that I don't, in my experience, I haven't played a lot in guitar duos, and so what I found really pleasantly surprising, is how much a concert is a listening exercise. And how much you just really have to be present with I have to be really present with what you are doing, because no matter how much we rehearse, and comparatively, I would say that we don't rehearse as much as certainly as much as we'd like to, because we live in, you know, 2 different countries. But because of that, and because of those limitations, I think we have to find out certain things in real time, which was really exciting. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but I've been thinking a lot. Like, obviously you've gone on to go back and do solo concerts, concertos, and, you know, back into interlocking life. I mean, you've been very busy since you landed, and you did you did the heavy lifting in this trip in terms of the travel. But I found myself really thinking about, okay, next time I'm going to do this, or next time I want to work on this, because it's been going around in my head, and it's actually been really good, because rather than sort of say, just have, okay, next Tuesday we can fix all this in a rehearsal, you know, and then you don't really think about it because you're going to get together. I feel like I'm being very active in my mind about letting things settle, listening back to some of the recordings, and then thinking, okay, this is what I think we should, you know, hit on next time. Are you having those same kind of thoughts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It comes in. I mean, obviously, we have to do a lot of our preparation separate from each other.
Yeah.
And, but having you used the term road tested, which I like a lot. You know, like having some of those pieces with a bit of road dust on them now. The Bach for me has a number of things that I think that I will definitely want to evolve after we've, you know, like had the opportunity to kick the tires a little bit. All of that's just going to be really exciting for the next time we have an opportunity to play together.
And also just I think it also post-COVID as well, and also, like, both of us are solo players as well. Most of us do a lot of solo concerts, you know. And I felt like probably I was not giving over as much of my ears to us as a duo as I should have been. Like, I think after the first concert in Crail, I was sort of thinking, well, I shouldn't have drank that much whiskey last night. But then, but I was also thinking, like, just open your ears a little bit more, like, Matthew, you know, to what's going on around you, because, you know, I'm used to walking out on stage and being like, okay, it's all on me. Here we go. That's that, you know. You know, and it's like it's such a shared responsibility of everything, you know. But you have to remind yourself of that, like, or I feel like I have to remind myself of that.
You know, it's funny because I had the experience of coming back to the States and then playing 2 solo concerts in Michigan right after we played, and it really brought the difference between chamber music playing, and in particular chamber music playing with a duo, which is its own kind of unique experience as far as I'm concerned, and what we do as solo players. What I think I like the most, just almost, I guess, intellectually, but also maybe a little bit emotionally, when we're playing duo music, is that I am really not worried about minutia in my own playing, you know, because the requirement of reacting to what it is that you're doing, even if we've rehearsed even if we've rehearsed a lot, there's always just a little bit of pressure of whatever's happening in real time. And I really like the idea of reacting to surprises, and there will always be surprises, you know.
I think that's what I was kind of badly articulating before, is like, you know, we were making decisions about tempi, but it wasn't like I was going, okay, I feel really strongly now we're in this venue that it should go this way, and you were going, wait a minute, no, I think this, and then, or vice versa. It was just like we both seemed to be going, let's approach this problem this way, you know, and it just seemed to happen by osmosis, or just very naturally. It's funny, there's a comment just come in which is really interesting from Mark Benson, and hello Mark. He says Bream said he changed tempi depending on the sound of the hall. What did you change for the cathedral? It's a great question.
It's a fantastic question, and it's funny because, you know, I mean, you know, Bream is for me the sort of like sort of the spiritual figure that I'm always kind of chasing after, and so I'm very aware of the multiple quotes that Bream had about where he would, you know, he was very particular about what halls he would play in, and was quite vocal about which halls he liked and which halls he did not like. And I don't think you and I quite I don't think we're quite that choosy about things, but what
Anyway.
I mean, you know, he had the privilege of being choosy. What struck me was how little we talked about it and how much it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, we did a little sound check in Crail. We did a reasonably short sound check in Dunblane, and I don't remember saying anything about Tempe during those sound checks. I think we just kind of reacted to them.
No, I think we talked about the acoustic in Crail because it was very clear, and I think we both commented on that. I think we both felt like this is clear and it's clean, and you have a reverb, a reflection, but we can hear everything. So I think I remember us having that conversation, and I think that was just okay. We're not changing any articulations. We're not going to slur everything. We're just going to keep to the articulations we decided in rehearsal, you know?
Yeah.
I do remember in Dunblane, when we were doing Towner, when we were doing Icarus, that I think those really fast pull-offs and stuff, I think we might have stopped a couple of times in rehearsal and just listened to, like, you do one, I do one, okay, what's happening there, you know? And also we had people at the sound checks, like we had Roberto and stuff like that walking about, and he, you know, I saw him go to different parts of the hall and listen, and he was sort of saying, sounds really good, guys. So actually he came up and he said, oh, he can hear everything at the back. In fact, you know, I remember now, he said, Mark, this is a great question, by the way, because you're just making me remember. Mark is making me remember this correctly. It's like, you're keeping me right here. Roberto said, you don't have to push in this acoustic at all because everything is clear at the back. And I think as soon as we both heard that, we both kind of went, okay. Yeah, you know, we don't have to like try and fill, you know, because it's like when you see a meal and it's too big on the plate and you go, I just can't finish that. I can't eat all that food. You know, it's like, it's too much food. And you see a big hall like that, a big cathedral, and you go, I can't fill this place with my little guitar. Like, I can't make this thing, you know, resonate loud enough to fill this space. So hearing that from Roberto just took the edge off, you know?
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, I will say, you know, we both have an enormous amount of trust and respect that we put into Roberto's ears, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a big advantage to have before a concert. Another really good advantage to have before a concert is having played a concert the night before.
Yeah.
You know, that's always, I really love how when you can do several iterations of a show, you know, like almost every night in a short period of time. I love how the recital ends up feeling just a little bit different every time, you know, you do it. You hear things differently, you know. Yeah,
you're right. Is that momentum as well? Momentum. You get like you get like this. You feel this kind of like I'm on a roll now. And you don't, you know, it's the opposite to what I'm saying. I'm enjoying in my head, thinking about when we meet again in Michigan in June. I'm thinking, oh, I can approach things differently. I can do things slightly differently as well, which I think will help the duo more, help me more, help you more. And I've got time to let those ideas percolate in my head and intervene in time. But what you just hit on there is this idea of like, it was last night, so let's do it like this now. Like, let's change it, you know, and let's be in the moment. I think now would be a really good time, I think, to show a little bit of the open rehearsal that we did.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because this was something that you were totally not, if I can say, you were totally
not. Go for it. Yeah, I will cop to this.
Yeah, like, what the hell are you doing, man? This is not for public consumption. This is just for private time. Like, you know, this is us working on something.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we've been really open from the beginning of this. So let's show a little bit of our open rehearsal. Let's practice in front of people. And, you know, the idea, I was saying this to you, but I've never said this to the general audience. The idea came to me of, like, you know, golfers, when they're practicing on a course, like say it's the PGA or something like that, they'll have practice days, you know, the 2 days before the actual competition starts. And people can pay cheap tickets and they can come around and they can watch. And the golfers are talking to their caddies about this is if the ball lands here on Saturday, we're going to take this club because it's this distance, if the pin's in this position, and they're having this discussion, and you can get up close and you can listen to this stuff. It's like the open practice for the tennis players at Roland Garros or the US Open when they're just testing the court, or the boxers having an open workout, you know, to sort of let people see, oh, look at the condition they're in. This is going to be great on Saturday night because they've clearly not been eating pizza. They've been in the gym, you know, or running their 10Ks and stuff. And I just thought, like, let's show people how we work. And the funny thing was, this is to Mark's comment when he was saying about things you changed, that it helped us create a bit of energy that was similar to a live concert. It wasn't the same pressure as playing in the cathedral in Dunblane, or let's say, you know, the concert in Crail. It wasn't the same pressure as a live gig, but it was live. So it didn't have a little bit more bite to it or something?
Oh, I mean, are you asking me? Because like I got cold feet on such a high level. You know, we had talked about it way before I flew over, and my reaction when you said, "Oh, we should, you know, do this," I was like, "Yeah, of course, it's a great idea." And then I don't know, it was like the day before we did it, I started to think, "Ooh, are we really going to do a warts and all display of exactly what this process is? Not only from the standpoint of a performance." But also from the standpoint of how it is that we're working together really behind closed doors, because the intention was to open those doors, you know, exactly. To be as open and forthcoming about this process as we possibly can. And you never wavered on that. But the night before, I was, oh boy, I wasn't so sure it was a great idea at all.
I mean, it could be because I've just got to the place in my career where I don't give a. I'm joking. Of course I do, but you know, it's like I mean, I felt the same, definitely. You know, I was.
Did you? I don't know.
I just know. A good poker player, Matthew. A good poker player. I'm gonna show a little clip of this now, because if people didn't see it during the week of rehearsal, they get a little taste for it now, and then they can go on Gallery of Guitar, and it's there. It's in the Duo Talk playlist, and it's a whole, I think maybe an hour we did. Yeah. Maybe just less of open rehearsal, where, well, it's more of what you're about to see. But if you are in an ensemble or interested as a musician in how other musicians make things happen, this is exactly how we did it.
Yeah, this is us working it out.
19
exactly
color that's working out really quite well. I think you're going rather Tosco.
Yeah, I'm going Tosco because you have E major really in the chords, and I have all this kind of So it's less D major than a kind of like bit of E and B going on, and I think it suits because we had such a right D major sound, and then we're clearly getting a little bit area. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm sort of moving a little bit with the as we shift to a different part of the key as we go. I'm moving a little bit with it. You know?
I wouldn't mind hearing you do that a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
What's a good place for you?
Maybe just coming out of the even 15, just so that gives you a chance to place your entry.
That'd be great.
Okay, 15.
Very nice.
You know the Detache thing that I was doing at 6? You know that doing it a little bit more forcefully. There you go. See, it wasn't so bad.
Well, not only was it not so bad, but it ended up being a really, really fantastic experience. I mean, not only for the preparation that it ended up making that piece, because that's the first piece that we play when we walk out on stage.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think that we're going to continue to program that piece as our opener. And so doing that, there was I think a lot of benefit to actually having a little, like you say, having a little bit of pressure on the piece. But the other thing was, the thing that I was probably the most surprised about, and the reason that we're even sharing this to begin with, was just how much my opinion transformed from, the day that we were doing it. You know what I mean? Like, we'd gotten up and we were kind of talking about it, and I was saying, I'm not so sure about this idea now. And then that evening after we had done it, I think I came downstairs and we were, fixing dinner, and I was saying, this is a great idea. We need to do this all the time.
Well, that's it. That's what I'm wondering about, because it got a lot of feedback. There was a lot of people commented on it, commented live, asked quite a lot of questions. So we did a bit of a Q&A after it. So for people who just saw that little clip of it there, you go and find it, because it's just there on the Gallery Guitar. And I think, I'm asking the community as well, so people can feel free to comment. But I think we should keep doing it. I think we should, when I'm over in June in Michigan, we should, pick another piece that we're working on and let everybody in and show them the process. I think it's okay. Good. I'm holding you to it. If anybody wants to second that to me, please do so in the comments, just so we can have it in writing and then I can hold them to it. But listen, maybe a little bit more music, because obviously you were here in Scotland, and we played a little bit of Scottish music, or the lovely Stromness, Farewell to Stromness by Sir Peter Maxwell Davies, and then a beautiful acoustic. So let me give the audience a few minutes or so of that, and then we could maybe talk about the Scottish audiences and what your feelings were on that. If it was if there's anything different to when you play in the US, or you've got a bit of experience from the summer as well. So maybe have a wee think on that, because I want to get your feedback on what you thought it was like to just be here and artistically share your art with some people from my country.
For sure. It's just too fun. It's just too fun, this stuff. Oh,
it's a lovely tune, isn't it? You could really
it's really, really special.
You hear the acoustic working there for sure.
Yeah.
So what did you think? Obviously we had to play a little bit of Scottish music. Nice. And I think the public really liked you getting involved with that, Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the so far the experiences that I've had, though, have been very personal experiences. You generate this this really, it's a very difficult to describe vibe that is at the classical guitar retreat.
Oh yeah.
I had the privilege of playing reasonably late in the schedule.
Yep.
So by the time I had played a solo concert this past summer at the guitar retreat, I had had an opportunity to get to know all of the participants.
Yeah, of course.
And so walking out on stage, I had this, a very kind of warm response, not just from the audience, but also from me. I knew that I was, playing for friends. And then the first concert that we did was in your hometown or very, very close to your hometown. Yeah. And I felt the same kind of warmth, even though I didn't necessarily know anybody in the audience.
Yeah.
But you could feel that warmth. You could feel that recognition, and that you were playing for people who know you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when we got to Dunblane, we met some friends from the guitar retreat over the summer, which was a thrill to see them.
And Harry and and then some of the students from the conservatoire.
Yeah, and then some of the students from the conservatory, and I taught there too. So so I can't really speak about general Scottish audiences. I can more speak to the pleasure of playing for friends.
Yeah. It was sort of, but I wondered though, because it's I think sometimes, I don't know what the stereotypes are, but sometimes the Scottish audiences, it can be sort of like, okay, they're going to be really into sort of like traditional music and folk music, and I wonder what people think coming across, like how their music's going to be heard. A few days after you left, I was in Berlin just for one night for a concert, and not playing, just watching. Ellen and I went to Berlin and listened to an amazing concert in the Barenboim Said concert hall of the students from the Academy, the East-West Divan Orchestra. And like, I'm always sort of, I don't know if it's being a Scot or it's like, you just kind of think like, this is really where they know all about classical music. And this is where, they can really take this stuff seriously if you're playing Bach in this venue or you're playing like, all this kind of stuff. And I just, I'm personally always kind of blown away by the knowledgeability. Like, do you remember in Dunblane at the end, this gentleman came up to us with 2 printed copies of beautiful preludes.
Yeah.
Dedicated to David Russell's old teacher, Ron Moore. They were preludes that he'd written for guitar, and he'd come to the concert. Yeah. Give us these, a copy for you and a copy for me.
Yeah, it was really special.
It was really special. And then, like, we were standing outside packing up the stuff, and I think it was the bishop of the cathedral who'd been at the concert as well, because he comes to all the gigs, and he was like, well, Martin Taylor was here, And I was like, Martin Taylor, the jazz, like the amazing legendary guitar, like
a true guitar legend.
Yeah, like, thank God you told me that now and not an hour and a half ago. Do you know what I mean?
My thoughts exactly.
Exactly. But like, this is the thing is like, I kind of felt like, I wonder, I was like secretly like, I'm taking him to all these places like Crail. It's like this sleepy little village, Dunblane. It's like in the middle of Scotland. It's like this huge cathedral. He's going to be like, this is what we're going on, this little magical mystery tour. And then it's like the places are really busy. It's full of interesting people. It's like I'm really proud of it for Scotland as well, because it's full of interesting, concert-going, enthusiastic, culturally minded people. Sometimes in the most odd places, you find just people with so much interest in the arts, which is just so encouraging. So it was a pleasure for me to sort of bring you in and just introduce you to these audiences,
Yeah, it was really humbling. And I mean, you could just kind of tell me at this point, oh, well, all Scottish audiences are like this. This is what, this is what you, and I'd be forced to believe you, because I have no other frame of reference, and that would be great if that were the case. I would have to say, good. Let's do as much of that as possible.
They're generally pretty good. They're generally
right?
Yeah, I would say so. It's a. I mean, right now, like anywhere in the world, I think certainly we're facing quite a lot of cutbacks in the arts, and we're facing quite a lot of defunding of the arts, actually, because other things are being seen as more important in the cultural sort of governance of the countries, and the sort of key holders and the gateholders of big budgets and things are being slashing things, and the audiences are there. The people are there that love classical music and love live music. So I think there's a bit of a problem coming, a bit of a revolution coming, because you can't take this stuff away from people, because it changes how they think, and it changes the breadth of thought they have about what they want their world to look like. And we're seeing more and more of this at the moment, and it's going to be problematic. This is what people live for. is enjoying experiences like this. It's the point of doing it all. So we've got a lovely comment here. The farewell to Stromness worked so well. Would have liked to hear it all. Well, Andrew, I'm sure you will at some point, because we're definitely going to be doing more concerts, and we're going to be doing some more recordings as well. So we're going to record the Bach when the whole concerto when I'm over in June. So that's going to be great. We're going to have that out, and I'm sure we'll get the Stromness, probably record it in one of these concerts that we're doing.
For sure. Absolutely. The Michigan tour is going to include for you a couple of days of recording, and then I host a festival for young students, so grades 9 through 12 at Interlochen, called the Interlochen Classical Guitar Intensive. And so you're one of the guest artists, and also Steve Mattingly is another guest artist, and a couple of Interlochen alums as well.
Nice.
And we'll play a concert during that festival, and then we have about 5 days of concertizing after after that festival. Mm-hmm. And so I think it'll be really fun to also then we'll be playing for very, very, very different audiences. Some are like ticketed audiences, others are sort of like they came to this environment and here we are playing. And we're lucky enough to be sponsored by Interlochen Public Radio for a number of these concerts. So you'll be hearing not only our promotion for the tour, but also you'll be hearing an episode of some of their original programming called In Studio A. So
nice.
Yeah, so we'll be making plenty of recordings, and we'll be recording in plenty of different environments too. So can't wait.
Well, that's good. Well, I mean, Andrew will be delighted then, because I'm sure the Maxwell Davis will be on there. We'll probably pair it with some other pieces of his as well, because it's we don't want to always just do the greatest hits, But I'm mindful of everyone's time, and I'm mindful of we just wanted to reflect a little bit on things and sort of give everybody an insight into how we're feeling and things that are coming up. So I've got a lovely clip, which I think we can finish today's show with. So if there are any other orders of business, we should probably tell them about that now, because I think we've got a couple more interesting shows coming up quite soon.
We certainly do. So we're going to try and keep our schedule to every other Sunday. So our next episode is going to be March 5th.
Put it in your diaries.
We've got an amazing guest lined up, but we're not quite ready to make the announcement. Mm-hmm. I'll just say that I'm just like beyond excited about that particular one.
Thanks.
We've got an episode about recording the guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have an episode dedicated to one of the great historical guitar duos really of all time, Presti Lagoya.
Yep.
And so those are our next 6 weeks worth of programs. So keep an eye out. Matthew and I will be making announcements as things come up, and very soon we'll be making an announcement about our March 5th show, which really I can't wait.
I mean, you undersold it so much then.
Yeah. that's clearly my problem is
we're talking an episode devoted to an absolute legend of the guitar and musically, who's just like like one of my heroes. So there you go. And then of course, like you say, Presti Lagoya. I mean, we've had so many people saying after we did the duo Bream Williams, and we talked about them, and obviously that spun off into just like generally how important they were as guitar players. But you know, a lot of people after that were like, you've got to do Preston Lagoy, you've got to sort of talk about that duo. And I mean, there's a lot we can talk about there that's not just the simplicity of like them as a duo and their output, but you know, Lagoya's career after Presti's death, you know, the legacy left by Ida Presti in such a short period of time. You know, how important she's been for guitarists I mean, not just female guitarists, just guitarists in general to look at, and sort of just what an incredible sort of passion and artistry as a performer and a player. I mean, she just had something, that quality that you cannot teach, you know, in abundance, you know.
And they're really different too. Like their personalities are remarkably different. And so, there's just so much territory to explore there. So we're gonna have some pretty fantastic conversations coming up in the next 6 weeks.
We sure are. And I mean, I think like for students out there as well, and the sort of more contemporary generation working on social media and recording and all that kind of thing, the episode that we do specifically about recording the guitar, I think it will also tap into videography, it'll tap into style, it'll tap into artistic voice, authenticity of your voice as an artistic person, trying to, you know, the originality and how to present that best, you know, so you don't lose your own identity when you do these things, because it can be now with everything online that everything just kind of looks the same and sounds the same. So these are three topics that are going to they're going to offer a lot of discussion, which we want you out there in the community to be involved in. Thank you very much to Mark and Rick and Andrew and Anne and Cynthia and Randall and all the people that have commented tonight. It's been great to have you with us, and everybody watching, thank you again. And everybody that attended the first gigs that we played, you know, I mean, I think in the couple of days we played to like, you know, the guts of 250, 260 people or something like that. And then we reached out to so many people online with the open rehearsal and then videos afterwards. You know, it's just great to be sharing all this with so many people. And we thank everybody for their support and coming along on this journey with us.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, we will finish today's episode as a trio, because it's Matthew and I playing the beautiful music of Pat Metheny, and it's the end of the exquisite Letter from Home, which you can hear the entirety of this performance of on the Galleria guitar. But the Cathedral's acoustic was definitely the third party in this performance as the harmonics sort of die away. So thank you all for watching, and we shall see you all next time.